I still hear the clink of the glass in my head, and every time I replay it, my stomach knots all over again. We were all sitting there at the long picnic table. Cousins laughing. Kids running barefoot. Burgers sizzling. When my sister stood up, lifted her drink, smiled that fake sweet smile of hers, and said loudly, "Here's to the one who always shows up broke." Everyone followed her gaze. Everyone looked at me. They laughed. Some awkward, some genuine. I felt my face burn so hot I thought I might pass out. I froze, holding a paper plate of potato salad like an idiot. I still don't know if what I did after that was justified or if I completely ruined everything. Was I wrong for what I did? Tell me if you would have done the same thing. To explain this whole mess, I need to back up. I'm the youngest of 3. My sister Lila is 4 years older. My brother Mark is 6 years older. We grew up pretty normal. At least that's what people saw from the outside. But the truth is, my parents weren't really parents. My dad worked constantly. Gone before sunrise, back after dinner. Too tired to talk to anyone. My mom was physically present, but emotionally on another planet. The only person who really looked out for me was, ironically, that same sister who humiliated me. Back then, Lila helped me with homework. Made sure I ate. Took me to school events when Mom forgot. She was like this mini adult. But somewhere along the line, things shifted. Maybe it started when she got married. Maybe it started when she got money. Or maybe it was always there, and I just didn't see it until much later. That feeling that she was keeping score. That everything she did for me was a debt I was expected to repay forever. Fast forward to my 20s. Life did not exactly go how I planned. I dropped out of college my second year because my mom got sick. Not she had a cold sick, real hospital sick. I moved back home, took care of her, worked part-time, and watched everyone else keep living their lives while mine went on pause. By the time she stabilized, my friends had degrees and jobs. I had medical bills in my name and a resume that looked like Swiss cheese. When I finally tried to get back on track, everything felt like quicksand. Jobs didn't call back. Cars broke down. Rent went up. I wasn't irresponsible. I wasn't partying or blowing money. I was just constantly one crisis behind. And this is where the broke thing comes in. My family loves gatherings. Birthdays, picnics, barbecues, baby, showers for people I barely know. And somehow, there was always this unspoken expectation that everyone would chip in big, fancy food, decorations, expensive gifts. And every time I'd say something like, "Hey, can I just bring drinks? Or can we maybe do something simple this year?" I'd see the look. That pity mixed with disgust look, especially from Lila. She'd smile tightly and say, "Yeah, whatever you can manage," like she was patting the head of a stray dog. Then things got worse when I lost my job last year. The company downsized. I got 2 weeks severance and that was it. Meanwhile, my sister and her husband bought a second car just for weekend trips and posted vacation photos from Bali like they were influencers. I avoided family stuff for a while because every time I went, someone found a way to remind me of what I didn't have. Eventually, though, my dad insisted I come to the annual family picnic. "It'll be good for you," he said. "You've been cooped up too much." I didn't want to go, but guilt is powerful. So I baked brownies from scratch, because that's what I could afford, and showed up with my cheap little Tupperware and my nerves on high alert. Everything felt fine at first. People hugged me, asked how I was doing, then didn't wait long enough to hear the answer. Kids chased each other, my uncle grilled. Lila floated around like the queen of the event, greeting people, laughing loudly, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my rent. She barely made eye contact when she said, "Hey, you made it." Then she eyed my brownies, nodded, and walked away. That should have been my first hint. After we ate, someone suggested a toast. Normally my dad does it, but he waved it off. "Let the kids do it," he said. Lila stood. She held her glass high. She smiled. And then she said those words that sliced right through me. "Here's to the one who always shows up broke." Silence cracked for a second, then laughter exploded. I heard someone whisper, "At least she shows up." Another voice, "Maybe next year she can buy the drinks." Even my dad smiled awkwardly like he didn't quite know what to do. And Lila looked straight at me, like she was daring me to react. Inside, something snapped. Not anger at first. Something deeper. A kind of grief and humiliation blended together. All the nights I stayed up worrying about bills. All the times I went without so I could help our parents. All the times I swallowed pride and showed up anyway because I thought family meant something. She erased all of it in one sentence. I forced a smile because that's what I always do. I stared at my paper plate and pretended it didn't bother me. But I felt this shaking inside, like a storm building. I know some people would have laughed it off. Some would have left quietly. But as the picnic went on, comments kept coming. Little jabs disguised as jokes. Hey, don't let her near the wallet. We should pass a hat for you. Maybe we should start charging admission. Oh wait, you can't afford it. And each time, Lila smirked or looked away like she wasn't the one who lit the match. Here's where things really turned. At some point, the kids went off to play, and most of the adults gathered around the table again. Conversations shifted to money, investments, vacations, promotions. My brother bragged about remodeling his kitchen. Lila talked about her new designer bag collection. And then, like she'd been waiting for the perfect cue, she sighed dramatically and said, "You know, some of us are just tired of always carrying other people." The table went quiet. I knew exactly who she meant. I felt my ears ring. Something inside me said, this is it. I couldn't swallow it anymore. So I spoke. Calmly. Too calmly, probably. I said, "Who did you carry exactly?" She blinked, pretended confusion. "You know what I mean." "No," I said. "Explain it." She rolled her eyes like I was being dramatic. You never have money. You never contribute like the rest of us. It's always, I'm struggling, I can't. I'm trying. We're all tired of it. Someone had to say it, and that's when everything poured out. Years, resentment. And I told her about the bills in my name from Mom's hospital stays, bills I never asked for. About lost jobs, about the nights I skipped meals so the lights wouldn't get cut off. I said, while you were posting vacation photos, I was taking buses across town to 2 part-time jobs. While you were buying handbags, I was fighting debt collectors. And I never asked you for a dime. She scoffed and said, "You asked for help all the time." "Rides," I said. "Advice. Maybe a place to crash once. But I paid you back. Always." She shook her head. "You're still a burden. You walk around with this sad little cloud and expect us to feel sorry for you." That word, burden, I felt it like a slap. And before I tell you what I did, I want to pause and really lay out the crossroads I was at. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. Do I stay quiet to keep the peace again? Pretend none of it mattered, swallow more humiliation? Or do I finally say everything I've been biting back for years, even if it blows up everything? Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have stayed silent, or would you have snapped like I did? Okay, here's what I chose. I stood up. My hands were shaking so badly that my cup crinkled, and I said, louder than I meant to, "You want to talk about carrying people? Let's talk about who carried who." I reminded everyone that when we were kids, Lila wasn't some selfless saint. She was controlling. She held favors over our heads. "Remember when you drove me to school for a month?" I said. "You still bring it up like I owe you my life." I told them how when Mom first got sick, I moved back home because nobody else would. Mark had his family. Lila said she was too busy. So I became nurse, cook, cleaner, chauffeur. For free, for years. And not once did anyone say thank you. I saw faces shifting around the table. Some embarrassed. Some surprised. My dad stared down at his hands. My brother looked uncomfortable. Lila's smile vanished. She tried to interrupt, but I didn't let her. I told them about the debt, the collection calls, the panic attacks, the way I cried myself to sleep knowing I might never catch up. I told them, showing up broke isn't a personality flaw. It's the result of circumstances I didn't choose, and responsibilities I took on so you didn't have to. Then I turned to Lila and said, and if you ever truly felt tired of carrying me, you could have talked to me privately. Instead, you humiliated me. You wanted everyone to laugh at me. She snapped back. "Oh, stop being dramatic. It was a joke." I said, "A joke is funny to everyone, not just the person telling it." That's when the argument exploded. Voices rose. My uncle muttered, "She's got a point." My aunt whispered, "That toast was cruel." My brother tried to calm things down, but Lila doubled down. She shouted, "Fine!" Maybe I shouldn't have said it. "But someone had to call you out." I felt tears in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I took a breath and said something I had never said before. "I'm done showing up." Silence hit harder than the laughter earlier. I told them that if my presence was such a burden, if my struggles were material for jokes, then I would relieve them of that burden. No more picnics, no more birthdays, no more sitting at tables where I'm the punchline. I said I loved them, but I loved myself too, and I couldn't keep sacrificing my dignity. Then I picked up my brownies. Because hell if I was going to leave them there, and I walked out. On the drive home, my hands shook so hard I had to pull over. I cried, ugly, gasping crying. Part of me felt powerful for finally speaking. Another part felt like I'd just blown up a bridge I could never rebuild. My phone buzzed constantly. Missed calls, texts, some angry, some supportive. My dad texted, "We need to talk." My aunt wrote, "Proud of you." My brother said, "You shouldn't have done it like that, but you're not wrong." I ignored Lila's messages. For days, my family group chat was chaos. People arguing, taking sides. Lila played the victim at first. She said I attacked her, that I embarrassed her in front of everyone. Eventually, though, something shifted. Stories surfaced about other times she'd made comments like that. Times she'd belittled people. It wasn't just me. She'd gotten used to being above everyone, and nobody ever challenged her. I guess I was the first to break the script. About a week later, my dad invited me over privately. He apologized. Not some weak sorry you felt that way, but a real apology. He admitted he let things slide for too long. He said he didn't realize how much pressure I'd been under with Mom. With bills, with everything. Hearing that helped more than I expected. We talked for hours. For the first time, I didn't feel like the family failure. Lila, on the other hand, stayed silent for a while. Then one evening, she showed up at my door without warning. I almost didn't open it, but I did. She stood there with that same polished look, but her eyes were different, softer. She said, "Can we talk?" I crossed my arms and said, "Talk." She didn't cry. She didn't collapse into some dramatic apology. She just admitted it. She said she resented me for needing help when we were younger. She said she felt like she grew up too fast and blamed me, even though it wasn't my fault. She admitted the toast was cruel, and that she said it because making me... The joke made her feel superior for a moment. She said, "It wasn't about you being broke. It was about me feeling small." Hearing that didn't erase the pain, but it made it make sense. I told her I forgave her, but forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. I told her things had to change if we were going to have any relationship. No more jokes at my expense. No more keeping score. No more pretending everything's fine when it isn't. She agreed. And for the first time in years, we talked like actual sisters instead of rivals. The aftermath wasn't some fairy tale. Things are still awkward at family gatherings. People choose their words more carefully now, which is both nice and weird. I set boundaries. Sometimes I still skip events when I know I'm not emotionally ready. Lila actually checks in with me now, not to pry, but to genuinely ask how I'm doing. And the biggest change is me. I stopped carrying shame for being the broke one. My finances are still messy, but I don't feel like a walking embarrassment anymore. I feel like a human being who went through some hard stuff and is still standing. Looking back, I think that toast was the moment everything that had been buried finally cracked open. It hurt. I won't pretend it didn't, but maybe it needed to happen. Because without that humiliation, I might have stayed silent forever, letting resentment rot me from the inside. Sometimes confrontation is messy, but silence can be deadly. So yeah, that's my story. If you were on my side, if you think calling someone out publicly like that crosses a line, then like this video. If you think I should have handled it differently, still like the video and tell me why. Subscribe for more stories like this, because trust me, my family has given me enough material for a lifetime. And share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. Was I wrong? Was I right? Did I go too far? I really want to know. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you all in the next story.